here we go, Tacitus, part 11 of the history. The forces by which they could keep in check Egypt, or by which Egypt was kept in check. Now, since this time of divine Augustus Caesar, here's the nominative, Roman knights obtained that they were in charge of it in place of kings, loco regum. Thus it seemed expeditious, or expedient, or whatever, for a province difficult in its approach, which meant for being invaded, fecund, in regards to the yearly grain supply, discordant and fickle, by or from superstition and lasciviousness, which in a negative sense is bad. They're in scarce, or not knowing of the laws, or they don't really know much about them. They're ignorant of magistrates. So it seemed expedient to retain in the royal house. So the Senate's not controlling it. The line of Augustus and the following emperors control Egypt with all its produce, etc. Tum, adverb of time. So then Tiberius Alexander was regnabating. He was ruling Egypt. He was of the same nation, so he was doing it for the Romans, but he was Egyptian. Africa, singular, and the legions, plural, in it, with the ablative absolutive interfection of Claudius Macro. So Claudius Macrus was dead. So Africa is now content with qualum cumque, whatever type of emperor, after their experience or experiment of a minor domine. Minor here would be in the sense of petty, not in stature. Doesn't necessarily mean he was short, but he was just a tyrant who had been ruling them. Okay, Due, female. The two provinces of Mauritania, so it must be split in half, of Raetia and Noricum and Thracia, in which else ones were checked or controlled by procurators, so that to whoever had an army in the vicinity, thus they're in favour of them or hatred of them, depending on their contact of the stronger force. That's how they conducted themselves, age of Antor. The inerms provinces, unguarded or without forces to back them, and itself in primal place, Italy, in the first place, Italy outstanding here. This was exposed to the servitude of whoever was in control. It would cede to be the reward to whoever won as a reward of this war. This was the status of things at Rome, or the Roman conditions. When Servius Galba and Titus Vinia were consuls, Servius iterum means second time, like we get iterate. They began in Choated. This would be the ultimate year for Galba, and almost the last year of the Republic. So things are bad. 12. Porcus Debus. A few days after the calendar of January, the calendar is the first day of the month, letters were brought to bear from Pompeius Propinquo Procurator in Belgium, which is in Gaul. The legions of Upper Germany, so I think that's spelt wrong, they had ruptured the reverent sacraments of their treaty, and they were flagitating. They were demanding another emperor. And to the dative, to the Senate or the people of Rome, they permitted the decision of choosing this emperor. Quo with a comparative means ut, so that they could accept, so that the sedition or rebellion would be accepted a bit softer. So things weren't going well, but they would accept a new emperor. These matters matured or hastened the plan of Galba. Jam Predem, now for some time, he'd been agitating over the adoption of someone younger, I guess, with himself, Secum, and with his proximates, those near to him, near and dear to him. Okay, Daily Dictionary. Yam predam. Sometimes it's separated. This Lewis and Short here. It's got the with the J. I prefer it without it. But this long time, now for a long time, that would be the meaning of Yam predam. Now for some time he had been thinking about getting a successor. Sane. So clearly, nothing was more frequently the conversation in the whole civitate and the whole area of Rome had been through these months, Ilos Mensis. In the first place, the licentiousness and libidine, that's another sort of lustful thing, and such things of speaking were going on. And then in the second place, in age, now was very worn out of the age was tiring to Alba, or something like that, Galba. Okay, so people had a lust for such speaking. To a few of them, God, what's that done? Eudicium, that's good judgment and decisions, or by a love of the Republic. So some of the people were thinking this because of patriotism and fairness. Many with a stupid hope, as if there would be quiz someone, a friend or a client of theirs, Hunk or Ilum, this guy or that guy, would be picked destined about. They were filling up with ambitious rumours. Even the hatred with the accusative, actually, is that an accusative? Oh, in the hatred, and that's double genitive, of Titus Vinius, who in dies, growingly from day to day, how much more potent in these same actions, he was more invisio. So this hatred was growing day to day, getting worse towards Titus Vinius. Quippy. Since, in great fortune, the desires of his friends, hyantus means they're gaping open with their mouths, was intended because of the facility of Galba, the easygoingness of Galba. It looks like it increased the desires in their good fortunes of his friends when they were with an infirm and a credulous or easy-believing man. Memories old. There was less of fear and there was more hope of rewards in their peccadillos, in their sinning or their bad behaviour. 13. The potency of the Principate, power, was divided into Titum Vinius the consul and the prefect Cornelius Lacum, prefect of the Praetorium. Nor was there less gratia, less influence to Icelius, a freedman of Galba, whom, given looks like rings of the equestrians, he was called by the name of Marcinium. Okay, so there's a thing in the lobe. I'll read out footnote. Icelus had hurried from Rome to Galba in Spain with the news of Nero's death. He'd been rewarded with a gold ring and the privilege of wearing the narrow purple stripe, the clavus, on his tunic that were prerogatives of the equestrian order. He then became one of Galba's chief advisor and was later executed by Otho. Okay. Hi, pronoun. These were discordant and in minor matters, each one aimed for his own good or end, but around the plan, the concilium of choosing a successor, they were skinned about. They were divided into two factions, two camps. Vinius was pro Marcus Otho, but Lacus and Icelus, in their consent and their agreement, not so much were favouring any one aliquem, certain person, than just it being someone other, alium, other than Otho. And neither was it unknown to Galba, the amitica, the friendship of Otho and Titus Vinius. Et rumoribus. So in rumours, nothing silent, transmitted, passed by in these rumours, and that Vinius was a vidua daughter. To Vinius, there was a unwed daughter. We get widow from that, but in this sense it's unmarried. And Otho was celibate. He wasn't married either. Different slight meaning. And they were destined to be a Genna and Soccer, son-in-law and father-in-law. I believe also Galba was undergoing some care of the Republic. He was thinking about the Republic's future. and in vain it would be if power was translated from Nero to Otho, and if this power was left with Otho. So he didn't like his nature, basically. He thought all this would have been frustrated in vain. For Otho had been incurious. It's in a bad manner here. In his boyhood, his puritia, and in his adolescence, when a bit older than a boyhood, he had conducted it petulantly. So incurious, petulantly, these are all bad. He'd been ingratiated to Nero by emulating his luxury and riotous living. Eoque popiem sibonam. So Eoque here looks like Eo for this reason being that the Scortum Principal, the emperor's mistress or prostitute or whatever you call it, this was her name, Poppaea Scinem. She was left apud a conscius. A con usually means a fellow, like your fellow slaves, fellow soldiers. He was someone of the same sort of thinking. He had deposed, he'd left his prostitute with this guy, libidinous just lust, until he could emoliator, so until he could remove, A and E usually have to do with removing, his own wife, Octavia. So they were both had a lot of lust, basically. He'd been married, but he obviously had this mistress, or what's the word I was thinking of? Can't think of it now. Okay, so soon he was suspected towards the same Poppaea, concubine's the word I was thinking of, and he was separated or placed at a separate place in the province of Lusitania under the appearance or front of being the legate. Otho administered the province in a commentary usually means friendly or in a decent sort of way. He was the first who transgressed over into, looks like Galba's party, into his side, and neither was it Segnus, which means slow. He's made a quick transition to him until the war was complete. So during that period, he was amongst the most splendid superlatives of those present with Galba. It immediately conceived some hope of adoption, spams the hope, and it grew more acreous, more fiercer from day to day in DAs. As the days went by, he was grasping this dream. He had the favour of most of the soldiers. They were prone towards him, and because in the palace of Nero he had been similar. He'd been similar to Nero, as we saw in debauching ways, etc.